Blue Star, it's 2088 AD, an era of incredible technology and global progress. Houses shine like lamps on a New Year's tree, and people have become even more callous and evil. The world is plastic, everything goes forward, but people become less. And here is our main character. What is he doing? Just wandering around the alleys of a busy city, watching something very interesting on his smartphone. Well, that's not a problem. Apparently this city is very modern, since even on the streets half-naked girls are broadcasting. And this is exactly what the hero ended up in, who clearly didn't expect it. The hero's name was Walt, a 17-year-old schoolboy who is capable of turning into a real beast. Only his animal is not a predator or a myth at all, but an ordinary white rabbit, which is precisely why the ears of his, so to speak, rodent appeared on his head, which he strongly shy. The bunny girl continued to broadcast, but the audience was not blind at all, and they managed to notice a boy with rabbit ears, which they thought was disgusting. She licked her lips and realized that she could increase activity on her stream. Well, it wouldn't be without a monetary reward. She decided to teach the hero a lesson so that he would no longer dare to catch her eye. The audience is so vile that only a moment passed, and they immediately sent a lot of rewards so that the rabbit girl would teach the boy some sense of reason. So she turned to him. What was she up to? How she wanted to punish the innocent guy who was passing by. He had absolutely no idea what she was up to. He doted on her, but he had better run away from here. She was very happy that she could humiliate someone in front of such a large audience. His voice floated. He is so slow-witted that some impudent person decided to trample him into the ground. But he is being fooled, and is not going to do anything. After an evil smile, everything became clear. Walt would be in trouble. Otherwise he was a very strong guy who could withstand her blow. She put a lot of energy into her blow. The ends of her fingers sparkled like flint on a lighter. The guy doesn't even imagine what awaits him. Well, now he will know that behind a beautiful appearance there can often be real freaks who only need money, popularity, and power. There was a stir. The bunny girl received nice comments from users, and they kept throwing rewards at her and praising her for beating up an ordinary person. He didn't even understand where he ended up. He was the one unlucky to meet such a callous and rotten person. But that's not the problem. He himself was covered in shadow, but a strong light source appeared behind him. Today his luck has run out. He's a disgusting girl, a giant truck whose driver doesn't pay attention to the road. Fate is so cruel to Walt that failure awaits him in every action he takes. If he takes one step and he will fall into a trap, he should get on the broadcast of some beauty. So she punishes him in order to please people, and then he gets hit by a truck. Such a collision would take him straight to heaven. He would not have to lie in a pool of his blood for long, but straight to the angels. Incredibly, even the van driver is not going to accept his guilt for the fact that he cannot look after the road. This city, this world is too disgusting. There is nothing good in people anymore. Only a residue remains from such people. Well, the impudent person is simply not going to look at it. She would rather show it all to the whole world to show how a person flies into the arms of death. Even the hero himself considers himself a real nonentity. Since he lived all his life in an orphanage, he did not see the wealth and love of his parents. At the age of 15 he received his form of awakening. But his awakening form was an ordinary white rabbit. For this reason he had no friends, since there were always mythical creatures in the class. Compared to him, they were real monsters. When large white ears appeared above his head, his classmates in some kind of elementals, and he could only kneel before them. Anyone could knock him out in a matter of seconds, but he endured every blow. People literally everywhere were terrible. The driver of the truck hit an innocent guy, and he was also to blame for the accident, and still had to answer for what he threw onto the road. Meanwhile, he was only getting worse. The landing was not at all soft. The pain could not be compared with anything. And that guy is itching. He can't forgive the guy because of the stupid greed that is poisoning this entire world. Something is definitely wrong with these people. They are just monsters. In front of that guy there is a boy choking on blood, and he doesn't even want to see this under the veil of anger. He is going to finish him off. Yes, if you talk about luck in front of Walt, you can easily offend him. But what kind of life is this that doesn't allow him to die peacefully? Misfortune was literally his middle name. All he needed to do was become stronger. But something was wrong. In addition to Walt's voice, he heard a strange conversation in his head about who it was. And then the others pulled up. The rabbit girl was also approaching to laugh heartily at her victim. But the voice in his head kept saying, "Dying bird or something even worse." Well, he can't think of anything to help the hero. It's incredible. Something went wrong. He's already in heaven. Bony death has already overtaken him. Is there really a mind in this world? Everything around him was swirling with particles. He was surrounded by various abilities. Something was wrong here. He imagined a certain robot 9527. After death, people go to robots that give new abilities. It's hard to even imagine such a death. Our hero called the robot a completely different name. He, of course, did not shout loudly at the fool. So that's the thing, this robot awakened Walt. As it had been accumulating its power for a very long time, it turns out that that voice belonged to 9527, and he was trying to restore his new owner. He was very glad that he could get all these abilities and be reborn again. But not everything is so colorful. Even high-level fighters are not able to obtain such skills. But here's the catch. Each new skill can be obtained only once a day and by the will of fate and luck. The hero did not like such words at all, since he had never been lucky before. And God bless him, he's not going to linger here and presses the button to get out of here. He began to suspect that after his rebirth he would end up in the current reality, which could not mean anything good, since he might be unlucky with his skill and die again. The robot confirmed his words that he would return to the moment of his death, and yes, if he dies, then 9527 will not be able to help him. Well, it's unlikely that anyone else will get such a chance to return to a second life, so you definitely shouldn't miss it. Walt has finally made up his mind. Now his luck will decide whether he will live on or die again as a failure. Wow, the system gave him a skill of the highest level, strengthening his abilities. At the moment, this is the best that could happen. The driver noticed that the kid was still breathing, which meant he could still take out his anger on him, so he should prepare for a new finishing attack. But now he will teach the lesson, and not these nasty rabbits and drivers. The new ability has increased strength, speed, and jump. The rest lost their fortitude when they saw this. Previously the guy couldn't even move, but now he seemed to get his second wind. The long-eared warrior decided to completely anger the guy by jumping with all his strength onto his brand new baby, the car that he loves so much. He definitely won't tolerate this. He's already rushing at full speed towards the main character to give him a couple of thousand volts under his skin. Well, today is a bad day for this wretched couple who imagine themselves to be the kings of the city. The man will get what he deserves, and he won't spare the impudent girl either. The man has now received his due. Such a powerful blow should carry him into another world, like one boatman in a dungeon who devours the souls of people. Is luck really on his side now? He can fight such strong enemies, scatter them in different directions, doing whatever he wants with them. Even the impudent woman's legs gave way from fear, since she had never seen anything like this before. This power should amaze everyone. The audience was already frozen, worried about their idol. Well, what became an unshakable confidence? Where did that pressure disappear when she tried to kill this guy? Then she will take the role of the victim. What will she do now? The system activated a new skill. The strength and speed of the fists increased greatly. Yes, now he is a monster. A horror that will petrify in the girl's heart and teach her to behave normally. This blow hit her completely. All her clothes tore and flew off her. Wow, what views there will be. He even treated her kindly. These are the kind losers we have. They are ready to kill them, and they feel sorry for their offenders. But the people behind the screen are not going to remain silent. They humiliate the big-eared warrior in every possible way and force him to take his hands off her. Some even envy him. Finally, he opened his eyes and saw that people were not very happy that their idol had just been almost stripped by some rabbit and left with no clothes. So listen here, now he's a daddy rabbit here. This will definitely be on every corner in a couple of days. And so it turned out. Only a day has passed, and in the school every mat is already ready to see this incredible hero. Every classmate is waiting for his arrival, and they had not even noticed him before. Yes, information in this world quickly turns into a worldwide sensation. One day passes and our superhero is on all television screens. The girls scream Walt's name as he enters the office, not understanding what made them so interested in him. Well, there's no way to insult him. Well, that's who they are. They've never seen anything in Walt. And then suddenly they started sticking to him. He has absolutely no idea what the hell is going on here, and what they really need from him. Even yesterday, That couple bowed down and apologized to him properly. He should already understand the reason for such kindness. Then the big-eared one accepted the apology because it was sincere, and not because they were simply scared to death of him. Well, his head finally realized that his classmates saw yesterday's broadcast and are now hitting on him. Well, he's slow-witted. It's not for nothing that they considered him a loser. He's slow-witted. Now at least his strength makes up for his shortcomings. But yesterday he made a real splash on the driver and the rabbit. They will remember this lesson forever. It's better to let the guy with rabbit ears go so that he doesn't get hit again. He is just glad that luck has turned its back on him. Not as usual, but on him. And he can rely on it and on the new system. By the way, it's the same system. He completely forgot that he didn't take any skills from it today. He called Robot 9527 and asked him to spin the wheel of his abilities. This time it was a rather weak skill. But in this situation, when many beauties surround one guy, at first glance, he becomes ideal. This only makes Walt happy, since, in his opinion, such a person is associated with only one, which means he can get a lot of pleasure. The rest of his classmates were not happy about this, since they didn't get a single girl, and one loser got so many at once. But here's the catch. For some reason the skill doesn't work, and the system does its best to claim that repeated use will be useless. What's the problem? And here is the solution. The name of the ability is too ambiguous. Walt turned his imagination to the maximum and thought in only one place. But the fact is that the skill works like a botanical encyclopedia. It's all about plant seeds, and not what he was thinking about. And how can you not shout to the whole office after something like this, when such a seemingly good skill becomes completely useless? Of course, he scared everyone away with his scream. Every betting moved away from the man when he began to scream and talk to himself. Only one person didn't care about this. The main bully of our hero enters the office. He clearly came here for a reason and called Walt. Yes, he looks good. It's immediately clear that he is rich, strong and successful. Luck was always on his side. He was born into a rich family. And now he has no idea why the loser whom he humiliated all the time became popular with girls. He offered Walt a job where he could make big money for the first time in his life. But Walt decided to distance himself and avoid talking to him. He managed to understand that something was wrong here. Before this tough guy only mocked him. But here he is so kind. Now everything fell into place. He did not become kinder to the hero, but teased him about sending him to work in a club with naked, pumped-up men, so that he could earn money in kind there. He claims that everyone there will welcome Walt with open arms. It would be a sin not to make such a deal. The long-eared warrior could not believe that this impudent person was really so stupid as to invite him to such a job. Well, in response, he also decided to infuriate him by the fact that the money was exactly from there. And, as they say, the fisherman will not tell his fishing spot. And the major didn't even understand the meaning of the joke. Yes, I have a lot of money, I'm rich. My mom and dad give me money, I'm rich. But you're not. These are the thoughts that come to this person. But it seems, it dawned on him. No, I didn't go there. I didn't get that kind of money from there. Mom and dad don't work there either. The hero was no longer interested in listening to these excuses. He mocked him, saying that all this was normal. There was nothing unusual in such work. He understood everything. He flared up with anger, hit the table with his hand and called Walt a kid. In this battle he clearly took first place from the end. A little more and everything would have come to a fight. But the teacher came in. Everyone took their places. And he threatened that he would call the principal if they started fighting on the school grounds. The major was still very angry with the scoundrel. His veins were swollen from what the loser began to allow himself. There were 2 pieces of news from the teacher. Soon there will be 2 important exams. The first one will be taken by everyone and everyone must score well. The second one will be available only to those who have awakened their abilities, so that everyone will have a chance to enter the best higher education institution. With his new skills, Walt decided that the second exam would be of great interest to him, since such a higher institution could not be found anywhere else. At the entrance hovered the same blue star, around which its aura hovered. Incredible mysticism was happening here. After the reappearance, the blue star created that incredible university. The evaluation system here could only be a special exam. Suddenly he decided to think about all his future actions. He urgently needs to get into this incredible university that everyone dreams of. Even highly qualified students may not get there. Now it wasn't that bad, even if he had a mediocre rabbit awakening form and a poor qualification in the form of 2 bronze stars. With the 95-27 system he has a chance. What the teacher definitely didn't expect was Walt's hand. He doesn't lift it in class. But here he decided to take part in a special exam. The teacher reacted to this instantly. Such qualifications as a hero were in no way suitable for competing in a special exam with high-level students. A stone immediately fell on his soul. His classmates behind him laughed because even his teacher saw no potential in Walt. Contrary to all the words of the teacher, he wanted to go there to prove himself, his strength and new skills, which are becoming more and more every day. That major continued to look at the hero with a grin, because he understood that they would let him through and not even say a word. Yes, the teacher is not at all able to cheer up the student and give him an impetus to success, just so that the school is not disgraced. He understands that he will always be looked down upon, and this annoys him. Precisely for this reason he wants to show himself so that no one else dares to do this. Incredibly, the teacher decided to make concessions and agreed that Walt would place in the top 10 on the upcoming exam. Then he would be allowed to take the special exam. Walt instantly agreed to this. There was no need to wait for him, not a drop of doubt, and complete confidence in himself. Then let the exam results decide everything, the teacher shouted. No matter what, Walt will make it to that exam and get into the Blue Star University where everyone is so eager. Behind the walls of the school, the beautiful sun was shining with its rays. Words cannot describe the beauty. But the hero didn't care about this greatness, since he needed to hurry somewhere. He urgently needs money for his studies, since the salary leaves much to be desired, and life at such and such a university will not be cheap. So he needs to look for money urgently. While Walt was crossing the road, a strange car began to pass in front of him. Suddenly she stopped in front of him. What a gift fate had again given to this once loser. And what comes out of it is clearly not a tall man in a formal suit. Has our hero really struck a chord with someone, since a lovely girl was getting out of the car? In his place, everyone would be surprised. An expensive car stops right in front of him, and a woman's leg appears from it. Yes, fortune overtakes our hero from time to time. There is not only one beauty, but 2 of them. A beautiful view, and the girl behind really reminds me of someone. Something happened in the hero's thoughts, all at once. What kind of goddess? Why to his soul, what attracted them to him? But the guys behind the same opinion. According to them, the blue-haired angel's name was Charlotte. He didn't like the fact that girls like to call him Little Bunny. After all, he's a serious man, they should call him like an adult. He thought, cleared his throat, and was about to express his thoughts that everyone called him a rabbit. He decided not to waste this opportunity to get the phone number of such beauties and showed his social networks so that he could always contact them. The second girl clicked at the sight of such a brazen approach to them. She had never met such daredevils before. Well, she definitely reminds me of someone. There are familiar features in her, as if we had met before. And she also called him Brother Rabbit. He definitely heard that somewhere. That's right, Walt was able to remember her. This is the same bunny girl who mocked him and filmed the broadcast. Charlotte handed over the very jacket he gave to cover the bunny girl's naked body. So that's the reason they came. Walt almost blabbed when he said that. On the street he thought about the same thing. Like the fact that she is one of the fallen women. She asked him to remain silent, so that Charlotte might find out about it. He didn't fully understand why he didn't hide this method of gaining popularity. Suddenly they were called by Charlotte, who remembered that Emily, that bunny girl, had talked about him. It was impossible to deny her charming beauty. Her heart sank. But even under such conditions her blood began to boil at the sight of such an angel. Besides, she is smart and occupies the highest position in the ranking of students. Emily confirmed that, yes, this is the same guy she was so happy to talk about. In addition, the streamer told Charlotte that he defeated that driver, and he had 2 bronze stars. She was faintly surprised at such incredible strength. Well, our hero is not so smart as to understand that they are trying to laugh at him, so he decided to demonstrate his strength, to which he received an instant reaction. She was not at all interested in him. Waving her hand, she said that she had returned the jacket. She didn't know anything else, and he hadn't even found out his phone number yet. He is incredibly brave to invite such a goddess to go and sit somewhere together. But she definitely didn't want to talk to the 2 bronze stars. In his head everything looked normal. It was clear that he did not see anything wrong in her words. But her terrifying nature was clear to everyone. She would never refuse an incredible challenge from her opponent. Even if she was confident of victory, the results would be determined next week. He agreed and extended his hand to her. She pulled away from him and did not understand how he dared to call her sister. And he was already thinking about the reward for victory. And the reward was incredible. She would have to give up her pride, and he would be able to make any wish. His hands were already itching. He could not lose. And she was very confident in herself. The most interesting thoughts began to play in his head, which were better not to be shown anywhere, and he even managed to blush. Emily asked Walt to get away from such a challenge, since Charlotte was very dangerous in arguments. But she didn't let her finish, telling her to leave. His day was truly sunny. He had never been so lucky as in recent days. A ray of sunshine made its way into his life. Fate was on the hero's side. Emily said goodbye to her brother Rabbit, who thanked her for trying to warn her. But he didn't want to back down. Cold-blooded Charlotte remained silent, did not even exchange a word. This is how she treats her opponents. Some time passed, and someone wrote to him on his phone, apparently something interesting. Incredibly, he had never been so lucky before. An order came for many people to come and save some person. The reward was any amount. This is fortune. He chased his pot of gold at full speed. It is at this internet cafe that Walt must rescue an apparently very rich man. Some guys attacked the fat man, who was begging for salvation, but no one came. The boy's name was Bobby. He begged them to let him go. Tears flowed in a stream. He even offered money, but they had no time for it. They were not going to forgive him. He would get it, and no amount of wealth would help. And on top of that they said that money can't always save him. But all their joy was interrupted by someone. They heard a voice behind them that said what they were doing. It was Walt. He finally came to the kids' aid. He really didn't like that these guys thought that they wouldn't be punished for this. Threats immediately flew towards the little rabbit. He didn't think for long and said that he would punch them in the face. The hooligans also wanted to respond to such insolence. But no such luck. Behind Walt appeared many guys who clenched their fists and said that they would not allow insolence in their area. The little rabbit has already prepared a bat so that it will leave a mark on every bully. Well, the hero was unlucky to nail them like nails to a shelf. These cowards ran away and now you can't find them during the day. And the guys who came for a serious fight left without proper pleasure. But for that the money will be in the account. The rich fat man was incredibly glad that he was able to escape from these freaks. And besides, he called people using ordinary delivery. Near such a crowd, confidence awoke in him, and he began to wave his fists, threatening that next time his brother Walt would give them what they deserved. He was not happy with this hero. The boy had no idea what was wrong with him becoming his brother, how they were connected now. Our hero does not welcome this, crossed his arms and said that brotherly ties are not important to him. I accept payment in cash. Money is definitely not a problem for the guy. The amount of 30,000 surprised only Walt. The kid didn't care about such checks. The little rabbit's heart froze from such money. He can spend as much as he wants, and he'll also have some left over for his studies. Even if he gives all the money to the 170 people he called here, he still has a lot left. But everything haunts him. What did those scoundrels want from him? What was the reason for such rage? But no one expected this. This guy pretends to be a woman in one game and tried to talk to people in a female voice. And just a couple of players who heard this, those were the guys, so they got angry. What a failure. Even Walt was amazed at this. Such a reaction was to be expected. After all, the guy definitely hit the mark. Walt already had to hurry. He climbed onto the moped and was about to drive off. But the guy decided to show his good side and offered to give him a ride in a very expensive car. But the little rabbit refused. Suddenly he remembered today's meeting with that angel Charlotte, who gave him such luck. That's it, you need to prepare for the exams so as not to embarrass yourself in front of your beloved Charlotte, and show who he really is. Quite a long time has passed. It's almost time for that very exam, and meanwhile the teacher begins the lesson. Over the past nights, Walt has almost dried out while he memorized each textbook. Before he did not stand out among others in intelligence. Now he needs to catch up. During the lesson, sitting at his desk, he really wanted to sleep. After all, he spent a lot of time studying. But now the teacher will announce all the details of the exam. With such enthusiasm for studying, he completely forgot that he did not take skills from the system. At such a time, 9527 is sleeping soundly. She clearly did not like the fact that this schoolboy dares to wake her up constantly. Walt was just surprised how much sleep he could sleep. Now was definitely not the time for that. A new skill has been acquired, photographic memory. At such a moment it sounds like the best ability of all. The teacher noticed that the hero was behaving strangely. The thought of disrupting the lesson crept into his head. What a bastard. And he had no time for the lesson at all. In his mind he solved physics problems perfectly, as if he were practicing them every day. Now everything comes too easily to him. After all, skill makes it possible to remember everything he has previously read and even wade into the depths of the brain and always find the answer to a problem. With this ability, he feels every piece of knowledge much differently, as if he already knew every word before and learned every textbook by heart. At this rate he will become invincible. But the teacher was not delighted with such impudence. He hit Walt's desk hard with his hand and asked him what right he had to study physics during Chinese class and laugh. He shuddered from his seat and froze in place. He had never been so frightened before. The teacher was furious, ready to bite him to death. He pointed to a physics textbook and in every possible way forced him to come to his senses. The hero replied that he laughed because he remembered a funny moment. The teacher pointed out that Walt was apparently bored in class, and then various funny thoughts came into his head. The hero confirmed everything. The teacher once again reminded him that it would be better for him to concentrate on his lessons, since all his dictations were written disgustingly, and if he did not get into the top 10 in the upcoming exam, he would not be able to get into the special one. And here he decided to cover the mouth of the arrogant teacher and show off his knowledge, betting that he knew the entire textbook by heart. The teacher could not answer such a statement. Only more questions appeared. He said that Walt should know how he felt about him and his knowledge, so he should refuse to compete so as not to disgrace the name of the school. So the battle began, as in real MMORPGs, and the teacher decided to start off easy, asking the question of what the Phoenix should do. Such an easy level did not become a big obstacle for the hero. He easily answered that he should hug the moon and rest forever. The first attacks came from Walt, and the first wounds for the teacher. He had already lost his first health. Here comes the second attack. The teacher is sure that it will knock out the enemy. But that was not the case. He easily parries the blow and counterattacks with his correct answer to the question. He couldn't believe it. Flipping through the book, he said that Walt couldn't fully pronounce the second part of the sentence. The little rabbit answered that nothing is impossible. Everything is within reason. Not this. The teacher pointed his finger at him and began to laugh at the fact that Walt did not have enough knowledge to get into the top 10. But his health was on the brink, and the students behind said that the hero said it word for word correctly, since he himself asked them to learn this sentence. On such a triumphant note, he waved his hand and wished good luck to his classmates in the upcoming exam. It was a knockout. The main enemy was defeated. The winner was the unsurpassed Walt. The day has come when the exam results have been announced. Students will not be pleasantly surprised by what comes first. And so it turned out. That same major found out through rumors that the one who was in the top 3 was studying at their school. But as soon as they saw the first place, and it wasn't the dear goddess Charlotte sitting there, but Walt, they all shut each other's mouths. It was as if the major was struck by lightning. He could not believe his eyes, since there was the loser Walt, whom everyone humiliated. He was confident in his knowledge. How can even such a small fish give a big head start? And with such skill you can conquer any peaks. Everything went according to Walt's plan, and luck followed the same path with him. Now he can demonstrate his strength to new opponents. The major was furious. The others tried to stop him, but he could not calm down. 10 days had already passed. It was just time for the competition, and the sky was perfectly clear. The stands were jubilant. Their screams could be heard from great distances. Everyone is waiting for action from the students and their incredible abilities. The presenter stood in the middle of the arena and announced the start of the competition. And people waved their fists in the air. People foreshadowed something interesting in the arena. 2 very important people entered the arena. The second fat man very much resembled someone. It was announced that the amazing Charlotte, which was ranked 18th in the entire country, would take part in the competition. But something was wrong with her mood. She tore and threw everything that was at hand. Where did such rage come from? The guys on the side guessed that the reason for Charlotte's anger was the results of the exam in which she came in second place. And here is our hero, arriving right at the moment when the goddess was completely out of sorts. He waved his hand at her to say hello or take the brunt of the blow. She could take out all her anger on him, since he was still able to win the bet and take first place in the exam. For some reason he didn't understand anything at all. Where did his idol get such anger? Was it really because of his victory over her? It was disgusting for her to admit this. But yes, he won and can ask for whatever he wants. He realized that he had hurt the angel's feelings and said that the bet was a joke. So don't forgive anything in return. It's impossible to go to dinner together. She was pleasantly surprised by this. Her cheeks turned pink, and she was embarrassed by his kindness. But she still accepted her defeat and sweetly apologized to him, taking back her words. The little rabbit himself noticed such cuteness. His eyes were in complete love. Even his nose began to bleed. But suddenly they were interrupted by the presenter, who was very interested in what the first and second places were doing here. Charlotte was already seething with anger, blushed even more and shouted at the presenter that there was nothing like that here. The others looked at all this with interest. They were obviously jealous of this bastard, since he had become such a close person to the goddess. The presenter also did not forget to mention that the hero is a real daredevil, since with such a weak form of awakening the rabbit was able to come to the competition. But this is too strong a statement, and in front of so many people, he dared to say that he came here for first place. The rest of the students laughed at him, pointing out that he could no longer hope for luck, just as he would no longer succeed in the first exam. Just as the presenter wanted to say a word, his microphone was snatched from his hands. The little rabbit decided to declare that he doesn't care about all people's words. They mean nothing to him. He had nothing to say except that they should all root for their favorites, since he would do everything to get them into the same arena with him. He was in full view of everyone. Such bold statements should be kept in check, since all television screens were in him. The people surrounding him already wanted to give him a couple of strong blows to the back of the head, if they had their way. But the presenter did not let him finish and grabbed the microphone so that he would not fool around anymore. Many participants already wanted to tear him into small pieces. He should be caught in one dark alley. He covered his ears, pretending that he didn't even want to listen to these losers. The presenter asked for silence to announce the rules of the competition. It will be a one-on-one battle. The winner moves forward. The other is eliminated. There will be a total of 257 participants, and each will have numbers that will be sent to their phones. Charlotte looked at her smartphone to get her number. Walt also looked at the screen with great interest and waited for an individual number. All participants impatiently waited for this moment, when all the players would be elected. On top of that, there was an odd number of participants, so someone would have to skip rounds. Everyone began to pray to God that their number would come up, since they needed to save their strength for the final. And suddenly number 66 fell out. It was under it that our hero Walt was. With such luck he would miss all the stages. Well, it was clear from his face that he was very happy with his luck, since lately it has overtaken him too often. The others were definitely not happy about this. This rabbit is too lucky. Why exactly him? All these thoughts are running through the heads of these losers. The host asked all participants to get into the ring and wait for their turn. He had already taken his place and had no doubt that he was lucky. But a game is a game. The players were chosen at random, and the Ice Queen Charlotte herself will participate in the first battle. Only a couple of moments passed, and the host's cries that her opponent was wounded and was dropping out could be heard throughout the arena. Yes, she is magnificent, a real snow maiden, but very cruel to her opponents. Her enemy became an iceberg before everyone's eyes and she was immediately declared the winner of the first competition. At such moments, she is truly serious. Features of composure and unbridled strength are visible, and most importantly, her incredible sweetness, charm and beauty. Everyone was delighted. She was a real star, and Walt until that moment could not believe that she had truly awakened the ice. Since he could not be inferior to her in strength, he urgently needs to learn many more techniques in order to surpass Charlotte. Only 10 minutes have passed, and the entire arena is torn apart by a flurry of blows and attacks. Students rush like lightning throughout the ring, collision after collision shaking the ground around them. Such an incredible force. It's definitely not brave pioneers who have gathered here, but very powerful enemies. Their high-speed attacks are incredible. All the stands sigh from such pressure. But there's only one person here who wasn't delighted, and that's Walt. It's really hard for him to learn these stupid techniques. It's tiring and makes him sleepy. And suddenly he called the robot. They haven't chatted with him for a long time. They need to catch up. He was clearly indignant that 9527 did not communicate with him at all. She was lazy or something. But the system says that it is not lazy at all and gave him a new one with strengthening of the whole body, an ability of one of the highest levels. In his thoughts, the system gave him only useless garbage. But now it was able to give him something worthwhile. But the robot was not happy to see such thoughts about himself and threatened not to give him any more skills. Well, the hero agreed to take this skill without hesitation, since it greatly increased his physical capabilities. Incredibly, the fortification passed in an instant before everyone's eyes. The clothes tore from the new force. My arms have become much stronger. My strength has also increased. Everything is now at a higher level. Endurance that even a guy who has been through too much would envy. This increase surprised him. Was it really so powerful? He was like a Greek god. Finally he began to look like a real man. He even tore his pants in such an awkward place. Emily and the other girls were excited by the sight. How huge it really was, she even blushed. He stood in a spectacular pose and asked the rabbit girl if she hadn't seen any handsome guys. But the point was not this at all, but a little lower, in that gigantic hole that appeared during the amplification. Now his men's trousers with ducks were seen by everyone, every girl and even Emily. The last battle for the first stage has arrived, and the day of the competition is over. Once again, luck was on his side and again he would have to sit on the bench. After such views, Emily would forget such a sight for a long time. Her whole face was red from embarrassment. The second day has come and again fate lets him go ahead. It feels like luck is deciding his future. The presenter is already tired of repeating day after day that number 66 is moving forward again. And even Walt himself despaired, and Charlotte sank next to him. Then they decided to ask him a few words on camera so that this lucky person could somehow take part in the competition. Yes, he himself is not delighted with such a pastime. He needs to warm up. But his own luck does not allow him into the ring. The rest of the participants saw this bastard and how he missed every stage. Even the major was disappointed in his luck. Suddenly he grabbed the microphone from the judge, pointed his finger at the little rabbit, and said that each of them was wounded and had gone through several rounds, and this loser had been sitting on the bench since the beginning of the competition. He looked at the loser with the microphone, who was offended by fate, which did not give him a chance to win, and so he said that he demands fair treatment for everyone and wants him to fight like everyone else. The host grabbed the microphone from the major and said that a certain participant had abandoned the battle and now Walt, number 66, would be able to fight. One of the players did not speak well of the hero, saying that his luck had run out and now he would get what he deserved. He, like Beethoven, does not hear anything bad in his direction, but he makes art at the highest level, and now he will even be able to warm up. But the first opponent turned out to be the same guy. His name was Gordon, who awakened the thunder. Everyone rejoiced in his honor and predicted defeat for Walt. The hero realized who he would be dealing with, some kind of pretentious opponent who represents almost nothing. Yes, I decided to show my incredible strength with some gestures. Such people never make it to the finals. He noticed this abomination on his way. Such opponents did not bring him any joy. Walt grabbed his head and thought in his head that he shouldn't intimidate the enemy in this way. It wouldn't work on him. Such a pretentious guy. And yet he has nothing behind him. Usually Walt rips off his crown and sends him to a hospital bed. But this one dared to say that the white stripe broke off on him, which is very bad. The show-off said he doesn't like to show his arrogance before a battle, but Walt, for him, is a different case. The hero only demonstrated his restraint in front of the enemy, so that he would not think of getting on his nerves. First he says that he will smear him on the wall, and later he is going to torture him to death. Well, he's kind of undecided. What a devil-may-care attitude the little rabbit has. His opponent flashes lightning and threatens to kill, and he stands with a downcast face. He had finally run out of words and now he would attack, his fist filled with determination, preparing to destroy dreams and hopes. But it was not so that his enemy would not be so easy as to fall from the first attack, but would even fight to the end, until the death of the enemy. The blow was of impressive force. It's scary to imagine what would have happened if Walt had fallen under it. But he wasn't even impressed by this. He was sure that all of Gordon's opponents were not injured, since no one fell from such a blow. Gordon couldn't believe that this loser was able to escape his lightning-fast super attack, which should knock him out. So be it. the little rabbit managed to force him into another attack, and he flies towards him at full speed. But our Walt's speed exceeded all expectations, leaving mirages behind him as he danced on the battlefield. Anger took possession of him. He is sure that he cannot lose to this scoundrel, so let him not become arrogant. This is serious stuff. This is where we should have started, and not just waving our fists in vain. Even the hero himself realized that such a blow would be mortally dangerous for him, and he had already encountered such an awakening before, so something had to be done. It is decided that he will attack faster than Gordon can use such a technique. Just a couple of moments, and Walt is right in front of the lightning-fast Gordon, who has no idea what to do in such a situation. Excitement began to flow down his face like a stream. He had never seen such speed before, so he could not respond in any way. Gordon did not at all believe that his enemy had such a weak awakening, and his strength did not correspond to him at all. He could withstand it. 5 minutes, the flight was normal. They sent him into the world of dreams, from where he won't get out for a long time. And the new power was amazing. Literally one action sent him to visit his great-grandmother. It's not for nothing that the last few days have been so sunny. Walt's luck removes all the bad weather. And Gordon flies face down into the ground. Finally someone brought him down from the moons to the ground. The presenter announced a new winner. A one-hit victory against such a strong opponent. He rejoices. The hero didn't even have time to understand anything. It was impossible to believe that just one game could be so strong. After this triumphant victory, the stands rejoiced. Everyone saw Walt's true strength and began to root for him. Howard, vice president of martial arts, was not happy with the results of this fight and blamed his partner for it. Steve, the second vice president of martial arts, considered the hero a pushover who was unlikely to be capable of anything. And here comes another opponent, and he should be a good opponent for Walt. Howard was very restless because he had been watching the entire last fight. Only in the final blow he did not see even a drop of spiritual power. Steve could not believe his old friend, since it was almost impossible. The blow was too strong. If there was no spiritual energy put into that blow, then the guy had too much physical power, Steve said. Howard thought the boy was a very curious young man, like they had never met anyone like him before. Walt's second fight will be with the beast who has awakened the form. The enemy promises to be strong, so high hopes are placed on him. His blue aura hovering around his body, high level of strength, and unrivaled body shape are some pluses. Walt analyzed his opponent. Realizing that he would be quite strong, he decides to strengthen himself again. And at that very second a whirlwind of new pure power swirled above him. This demonstration of power was not to the liking of this beast. He noticed this deadly aura that pressed on everything around him. Incredibly, this has never happened before. The enemy knelt down and begged for mercy so that he would not be beaten. Walt is not allowed to warm up at all. His opponents are too weak-willed to even fight properly. The third fight, and again some beauty put her sword in front of him and knelt down. The presenter announced the winner again, and it was, oddly enough, Walt, who didn't even have time to do anything. And this time the enemy also surrendered. The little rabbit was holding a piece of paper with an inscription asking whether it was difficult to find the enemy. And his opponents gave in time after time, even asking him for an autograph. Explosions of confetti, joy, and another victory without a drop of complexity. Why is everything so easy? The host announced the results, and Walt makes it to the top 8 fighters in the competition. Charlotte noticed that Walt did not like such victories. She wanted to cheer him up, but how could she do this? He lay on the grass and listened to music to forget about these useless games that couldn't even give him a worthy opponent. This special exam is just a waste of his time. No enemy, no fight, nothing interesting. But 9527 arrived on time. Walt just forgot to select a new skill today. Well, again I got an almost useless ability related to accuracy and mastery of all weapons. In times of modern technology, no one will use a spear and a bow. Again, nothing necessary. But in the meantime some guest came to Walt. What a blessing! It was our beloved Charlotte. It turns out that she just needed a little rabbit. Well, his cheeks immediately turned pink. His heart beat faster at the sight of his angel Charlotte. She had come here to tell him something, and only him, what it could be. But he was not at all interested in her words. He just wanted to look at the forbidden places, our angel, and also from such a perspective. He was very glad to listen to her. Even a couple of words from her mouth was a whole symphony for him. So here's the thing. She needs to gather a team over the summer holidays to explore a certain bronze market. The bronze market, what is this? Walt asked with curiosity, having never heard of such a thing in his life. After the revival of spiritual energy, countless spiritual markets appeared that were filled with many kinds of beasts and ancient treasures. Many people want to profit from such riches, which is why they come here, since spiritual beasts are valued not only for their skin, but also for the special spheres that they create, helping in cultivation. That's why she came to him, to ask what Brother Rabbit thought about this idea. Of course, ancient treasures are good, but he wanted to spend more time alone with her, which he was happy about, and even thought about a date. Images immediately appeared in his head that in a difficult situation she would sweetly hug him to her and ask for help, and he would effectively say that he would not let him down. A smile from ear to ear, another joy has come for him, such a beauty will ask him for help, and she said that he need not worry about safety, since in addition to the two of them there will be 6 more people. He was disappointed after her words, but still agreed, inquiring about who the other people would be. She decided not to answer this question. She said that everything was fine, she would contact him later on this issue. Walt felt bad that she was leaving so easily, and he suggested that she go to a cafe and chat. But she had no time for that. She told him to get ready for battle, since it was better for him not to disgrace himself in front of her and everyone. The stands rejoiced once again as the final day of the competition arrived and people cheered for Goddess Charlotte to humiliate that vile rabbit. Opponents stood opposite each other, a long-eared warrior and a snow queen, a frivolous rabbit for whom spring had just arrived and an iceberg that emanated coldness and composure. Walt is determined. He has never had such opponents, strong and charming, no matter how everything goes against him. Charlotte is also determined to win. Realizing that the little bunny will not be a weak enemy, she furiously comes up with tactics against him. The host announced the match, pointed his finger upward and announced the start of the final competition. Around them, the wind blew faster, as if their brutal aura was dispersing the air currents. She pointed a finger at him, which made him feel less confident in front of her. Charlotte promised that this time she would not miss first place. In her head she thought that they were now on the same team, but she was not going to feel sorry for him. Even so, Walt was not going to take everything to heart. He did not want to win. It was only those words on camera that made him come here. But still, he advised her to accept defeat, since after her words, he was determined to win. He smiled evilly at her, and said that he would not be gentle with her, even if she was such an angel. The host noticed that the players were ready for battle and announced the start of the competition. She said that she is not inferior to him even in physical training, since several years ago she received a black belt in Taekwondo, and Brother Rabbit decided to test her abilities in practice, so he should use all his strength. The first blow missed him. She easily repelled his attack and tried to hit him behind his back. Everything went according to her plan. She acted quickly. He only had time to react, but he did not have time to counterattack. And now the first lightning attack from Charlotte has passed. The power is incomparable. Now he should be careful. Now he must understand that his beloved angel will not feel sorry for him, which means he cannot catch every blow. Such a fight drove a lot of adrenaline into his blood. All animal instincts woke up in him. He understood why they call her a goddess. The blow was just right. After all, she was magnificent in every way, smart, beautiful, strong and impressive, the ideal woman for the ideal man. But he didn't have time to think that long. He couldn't give away victory. The fight has just begun. The first blow will not be a big problem for him. He dealt blow after blow, attack after attack, but she got away from each one with ease. Everything was deplorable for him. All his efforts were in vain, as if he were beating the air. He was too slow for her. While he was just thinking, she was already behind him and preparing a new attack for him. He was completely clueless about such speed. Previously the enemies had not presented any visible difficulty to him, but now. And again a strong blow followed. In addition to everything else, she aimed at the person's weak points in order to inflict great pain on him. This blow slammed him into the battle arena, leaving large cracks in it. She acted arrogantly, admitting that his physical fitness was good, but his skills were very poor. It was better for him to give up. But she didn't even use a special skill, and she already almost won the duel. After this injury, it is harder for him to stand on his feet. He understands that at this rate it will not lead to anything good. He pondered for a long time to find a way to defeat this goddess so that she would descend from heaven to earth. But something interesting caught his eye, and yet he was able to find a solution for himself. Suddenly he asked to pause. Charlotte froze in place because of this. How dare he leave the fight so suddenly? The host has been surprised by him too many times already. His luck and arrogance amaze everyone. He jumped out of the ring. The host didn't even imagine the participants who dared to stop the fight. It occurred to him to take the mop standing nearby and fight with it. Walt asked him to take a mop to fight against Charlotte. The presenter said that he had never met such impudent people, and did not even know what to do in such situations. Charlotte was furious, but still allowed him to use this stick. But that's just what he thinks of himself, even if he doesn't even think of complaining about its cruelty. She could no longer tolerate his antics, and asked him to start the battle as soon as possible. And he continued to smile in front of the entire arena. One day his fans will beat him to death. So he decided to demonstrate his new weapon, a wooden mop that fits perfectly in his hand. He became filled with energy. The little rabbit was ready to crush anything and everything. He warned her not to cry later because she would lose. It occurred to him to use his new ability to increase his mastery of all weapons. Charlotte managed to notice that he began to look like a general who had taken the most ideal weapon into his hands. He took off, followed by his new attack. She better be ready for anything. His intentions are clear. He will always attack directly. His every blow can always be predicted. So she did. The attacks were, as before, too slow. She always knows where he will hit. But he decided to combine skills and change the direction of the attack. That's his impudent face. He's definitely up to something. Cunning is visible in him. The first hit in such a place. But he was a daredevil. Since he got into such an intimate place, she could not understand how he became so accurate. After that, she decided to kill him so that this would not happen again. He grabbed the back of his head and said that it was all his muscle memory that was to blame. He just couldn't stop. The Ice Queen uses a basic ice technique, the icicle attack. Walt asked to listen to him. But the next attack did not leave him expecting mercy from her. But he himself is not going to stand still and take all the damage. He annoys her so much that she decides to use the freezing skill. He noticed that it became very cold in the ring, and his body was weak. But Charlotte decided to slow him down. For him, her magic was too fast. Only seconds passed after the last attack before a new one followed. Once again, the battlefield was filled with ice icicles that would pierce him in a matter of seconds. There was nowhere to go. They were all aimed at him, like homing missiles. There was a big explosion, after which it's unlikely that anyone would be able to get back on their feet. Such strength in a fragile beauty is frightening. Her future husband will be very unlucky if she finds out about the betrayal. She asked the presenter to call an ambulance and announce the results. The presenter wanted to announce the winner, but something suddenly prevented him. A strange silhouette appeared from the dust curtain. Was the battle not over yet? He finally came out and was ready to fight with her again, saying that he only left her for a couple of minutes, and don't let her relax. Her brother Rabbit is already here. Let him prepare for a new battle, especially since he decided to use his rabbit awakening form. She was able to notice the difference in speed with the old Walt. She had not previously had to create ice armor. He was already flying towards her at full speed. If she did not defend herself, she would be pierced right through. Snow Queen Charlotte thought that Walt's strength was too great. Even his ice armor could not withstand his power. Tears began to flow down her eyes. She thought that he wanted to move her to second place. But she could not let that happen. She couldn't accept defeat so easily. She would beat him until his lungs took their last breath. She decided to use the breakthrough of the second rank silver. Now she was a couple more levels above him. Brother Rabbit understood what she was going to do. With new strength he had better not come under attack, as very bad things could happen. Then he decided to stop the fight again, as he noticed dishonest attempts to win. The presenter pointed out to this fool that this was an ordinary break-in. There was nothing illegal here. And Walt was trying to figure out whether it was true that the breakthrough was an honest thing, whether it could be used in competitions. It immediately became clear to Charlotte that he was simply afraid of her new ability, and decided to pause. I didn't even imagine that he could be as cute as I previously thought about him. She told him not to come up with his tricks anymore and to start fighting with him seriously. Finally, he agreed. It would be something to look at, since he himself became completely ready. She warned him to be careful as she became even stronger. He easily avoided the first volley of icicles by jumping on a stick, creating leverage. On the battlefield, he fluttered like a butterfly. Charlotte did not have time to follow him, as her attacks were successfully parried. But still, he was not as fast as he would have liked, since he understood that due to the breakthrough, her speed, power and strength increased several times. Even with his speed, she overtook him. The icicles began to hit him much harder and reach him faster. With her strengthening, she became even more majestic, as if the Snow Queen had come to punish her subordinates for disobedience. Her rage knew no bounds. She was not at all afraid that she might hurt Walt. Only the desire to take first place, which she could not miss. It couldn't be. He dared to think that this was the end for him and his battle. Couldn't he really think of anything else? During that attack he was able to catch too many icicles. His hands should receive a severe ice burn. And so it turned out. His hands became too cold. He felt as if he was already losing consciousness. If things go like this, he will definitely lose. He can't let that happen. This desire has grown into madness. He is ready to do whatever he wants to achieve a worthwhile victory. She recognized his zeal, what kind of outburst he made, how it happened. He decided to attack her. But what was he really up to if he didn't want her to attack him? Walt grabbed her in front of everyone, completely immobilizing her, and began to wait for her to admit defeat. She wanted to break free from the hands of this idiot, but he did not give in to her and held her even tighter. Well, he put his hands where no one should at all. His impudence knows no bounds, but for that he was able to fulfill the dream of every guy on the podium. These feelings could not be described in words. She could not understand how he dared to do such a thing in front of so many people and on so many television screens throughout the country. In this position, she was able to punch him in the jaw and tell him to let her go. But he understands that at this rate they will fall to the ground together. And so it turned out, both collapsed to the ground. What will Walt do now to win? They bounced off the floor, Charlotte taking care of him and telling him to be careful. He was already badly wounded. There was a large mark of the attack on his hand. She takes care of him again and asks him to let her go. Brother Rabbit asks her to admit defeat. Only then will he let her go. She doesn't even have the right to force him. She better give in, otherwise he has an ace up his sleeve, and it was a rabbit bite. If she doesn't stop kicking, he will really bite him. He is annoyed that she is worried about him, and says that it does not matter that he can pass the exam. He only wants to win. I have never seen such men who are ready to do anything to win, ready to fight against the strongest enemy, knowing that the chances of victory are too small, but they will still win. With heaviness, she managed to sigh, and with red cheeks, she mentally decided to fail. Yes, this is a real triumph for the hero. He was able to achieve an impossible victory, was able to defeat the Ice Queen, who did not give anyone a chance, and then was able to give up first place. The presenter opened his mouth wide. He was perplexed by this outcome of the competition. No one believed in him, but he proved everything he could. But all his strength was exhausted. He relaxed very much and fell unconscious. She lost, but remained on her feet after such a difficult battle. This is how opponents should be who go to the end for victory. And he fell from fatigue. He won't be able to celebrate the victory with her and rejoice at the fact that he silenced all the stands. Charlotte felt very uneasy because of him. How could he dare to scare her so much after such a difficult victory? His eyelids grew heavier. His mind became more and more foggy. He did not understand who was calling him with such zeal. The image of his beloved Charlotte appeared before him, telling him that he shouldn't underestimate himself and overwork himself. It is impossible to restrain yourself from reaching out to such cuteness, so the hero did not lose this opportunity. She begged him to move away and remove his paws, calling him a rabbit. But it's true that he himself didn't understand what happened to him. His skin was overgrown with warm white fur, large ears grew on his head, and his teeth became like a rabbit's. Fortunately, it was just a dream. He woke up screaming throughout the room and was very scared from such nightmares. A new brutality skill has been acquired. The white rabbit has been transformed into a hobo rabbit. As soon as he woke up, Robot 9527 talked about acquiring a new skill. Yesterday he was unconscious, so it activated automatically and the ability was very good, the highest level. Still, he realized that maybe this skill was not so bad, so he immediately began to acquire a new one and again luck, a top-level ability, the awakening of the cosmic system. Just as the system had previously given him only low-ranking skills, Here he began to have complete luck. The system noticed similar skills and decided to merge them, combining space and brutality. Walt tried to stop it, but it was too late. The robot announced that the merger was successful, and the beast had evolved to an even better rank. New powers surprise him from time to time, as if he is always learning something new. Some space appeared in the abdominal area. He did not understand what its use was and asked the system. She said that this space would serve as storage, and you could put whatever he wanted there. Such a device seemed useful to him. But this was not the last surprise. The skill was open any door. The user can open any door and teleport to any location within a 5-meter radius. He can now go anywhere within a 5-meter radius, and the system has asked him to open a door within reach that he can reach. The little rabbit thought for a long time about where he should go for the first time to try out his skill. Still, he came to the decision to go down to the floor below, since he just needed a test of his skill. A couple of moments passed by, and he fell with a roar to the floor below. How happy the neighbors would be for him. The landing was not soft. He scratched the back of his head and thought for a long time why he needed to go down to the floor below. How bad it is that his neighbor turned out to be a girl. For such impudence she will send him to the next world to meet death in a black hood. She grabbed the knife that was lying next to her, which is very strange, but at such moments it is best suited. Yes, she is also the daughter of Meg's landlord. She was 20 years old, and she was very interested in how Walt ended up here so early. He had no idea that the daughter of the owner of the entire house lived here. Walt waved his hands and asked her to forgive this misunderstanding. But the only thing awaiting the pervert was cruel punishment from Mistress Meg, who would not let him leave the room alive, even if he was a sick person. The second day after waking up, in a cafe, a neighbor beat him specifically. Fortunately, she let him go alive. Otherwise he would not have been able to come on a date with Mrs. Charlotte. She suddenly called him this morning by sending him a message. Only it was not just the frosty angel Charlotte who was waiting for him, but her entire team, with whom they would go to explore the bronze market. Of course, he was not happy that he would not be able to be alone with his beloved beauty. She treated him with great care and suggested that he behave more carefully, since they would soon go on a long journey. In addition, she was able to notice that after the treatment he only became worse, to which he decided to respond by saying that something had happened, but did not tell anything in detail. Charlotte pointed to Walt's acquaintances. He had previously dated that chubby kid Bobby and the streamer girl Emily. He would have been very happy if he could spend time with her one-on-one, but luck was not on his side. Emily, the soundbender, and Bobby also noticed the bad condition in Walt and were worried about him. But there was one he was not yet familiar with. His name was Griffin, and she called him a real storm in their team. He handed the hero a glass of water. As it turned out, he is a good fire lord, so he definitely has great potential. And besides, he was inspired by Walt's fights, calling him cool. Here the team was not at full strength. 2 more are now busy with admissions. She mentioned that Walt should have received many offers from other universities, and it turned out that he received a bunch of notifications today. The number of applications for admission is amazing, as if they are chasing a treasure that will go to the coolest. In his head, previously I didn't even dare to think that I could get into the most desirable university. But here he is chasing it, along with others. Charlotte suddenly blushed and brought the conversation to an important request. Where does the desired Walt want to go with her at the moment? Even his cheeks turned red from this, as if he understood what she was leading to and what she wanted so much. He decided to go to the martial arts university, and subtly hinted to her if she wanted to go with him. Yes, she agreed with him. She really wants to go to the same university with him to get revenge on him. After all, she's only been losing lately. And he behaves like a puppy who is only glad that his goddess will go to the same educational institution with him. She said that she was not going to indulge in self-indulgence, and it was better for them to move from this topic to the main one. They should not be interested in location and terrain. They need spiritual beasts. More precisely, the ice fox. Magnificent animals, dangerous and beautiful. Their skin can cost a fortune, but they also have spiritual realms to find. It's just that she can't find the spheres herself. She needs them to help her find all the most valuable things. She is very grateful to the guys, as they all passed the exams very well and even agreed to help her. Emily didn't see anything wrong with it, so she asked her not to say that again. Griffin and Bobby were in solidarity. This was a great experience for them, and Walt also joined them, who would help scatter all the animals. Brother Rabbit was very surprised by such gratitude. He had never heard such pleasant words from high-ranking people. In his opinion, he was lucky that Mrs. Charlotte allowed him and invited him, and everyone with so many stars manages to learn something from him. Incredibly, she allowed him to call her not a goddess or mistress, but simply by name. Without further ado, the whole team was assembled. Now they can announce that they are moving out in 3 days at 10 o'clock in the morning at Walt's house. The day of departure had already arrived. 30 minutes before departure, Walt called Robot 9527. Again, Puri rank skill, nothing new, just basic cooking knowledge. Lately, the system has been giving him only skills related to the knowledge of medicine and cooking, as if it wants to make a businessman out of him. The hero thinks so, and the robot reminded him that he recently received 2 SSS rank skills. So he remembered the storage facility, which he had not yet used properly. It's incredible, he was going to throw a whole bag of things there. What would come of it? Surely the entire travel bag will easily fit into storage without any complications. He was pleasantly surprised by such a convenient ability. Previously he had to carry weights on his back, but now he can throw everything into storage and go wherever he wants. Such a gigantic bag, but he doesn't feel any heaviness, as if the whole load had evaporated. The system added that there is so much space there that there is room for another whole room, which he can take with him. A little time passed, and the super team was fully assembled and ready. Walt waved to them and said that he would be on his way to them very soon. Still, he thought about it and recognized the skill as very useful. In many cases it could help out the whole team. Already in the car, his space system was noticed by Emily, who came too close to him and almost lay down on him. He was very uncomfortable with everyone looking at him like that while he was putting that same stick from the competition in storage. Yes, it is too roomy. You can live there if necessary. Charlotte was very interested in the space system. Like everyone else, she couldn't even understand how he managed to achieve it, because this is a very rare phenomenon. Emily couldn't stand it anymore. She wanted to touch his device. Well, she was really interested in this. After the girl got too close, he said, "The gods are with me, their eternal radiance," which means that he wanted to protect himself from her. But she just wanted to touch the space system, since she had never seen anything like this before. The driver noticed that Walt was very funny, and how he managed to fit into the team. He motioned for them to look ahead, as they had already arrived at that very place. The view from the window amazed the little rabbit. There was something very interesting there. They got out of the van. The hero was very surprised by all this, as if he had fallen into a fairy tale. But such views will frighten everyone. They will not even surprise, but frighten. A giant beam hits the ground. You don't see this every day. There were people standing near the gate, something like guards, who let people through only with an appointment. He was illuminated by this. He had never been able to see these spectacles. What was behind them? Here is their story. No one knows for what reason they appeared, but everyone refers to the fact that all this is due to the appearance of spiritual energy. In such places live various spiritual beings, which are determined by the level of space. The higher the level, the more dangerous it is, which frightens these people. Creatures are capable of penetrating the human world, but they rarely do this on their own initiative. People should still be afraid of creatures, but they don't always have to be afraid of them. They need to find a middle ground. In such cases, you should run and only run, and not look at the monster and wait for it to strike. In their case, the bronze market is located in a nature reserve in the middle of sharp rocks and stone skyscrapers. Such is the beauty of nature. But just as you shouldn't think about whether you have bronze or silver, you need to be sure that government authorities will be watching you. There were people standing at the entrance who were allowed and only on a first-come, first-served basis. Today they were unlucky and registration ended for them. They will have to register now and come tomorrow. Charlotte agreed to come tomorrow. He peered at this view for a long time. This strange energy attracted him. Charlotte talked to the watchman about what they were going to do there. Here he felt an aura much stronger than in other places, something incomparable to be behind the gates. Suddenly, Emily appeared out of nowhere, clinging to the hero with her forms to find out what her beloved brother Rabbit was doing. He was very embarrassed at the sight of her, since a beautiful girl had never approached him from behind or pressed herself against him. She didn't like it at all that he was calling her by her first and last name. She wanted, just like was Charlotte, to be called only by her first name. But this was completely different. He began to wonder where she was leading him. She wanted to take him to the room to relax and touch his bottomless belly. But the cute couple caught the attention of a strange guy. But not this. Our heroes became very interesting to someone, especially the wealth of our Bobby. These guys recognized Bobby. They know that he is very rich, which means he could very well become a good catch for them. They kept a close eye on them. They couldn't afford for them to get away from them. These scoundrels steal everything valuable from rich adventurers who are out for a walk. Alan, the leader of the Wolf Squad, has 5 silver stars, and he is also a freak, because he tries to profit from weak majors, and then takes care of all the guests. At the sight of this detachment, the birds fly away to warmer climes so as not to meet these freaks. But regardless of this, the weather was ideal for hiking. They made a promise to each other that they would make all the rich people convinced that they were only here for the spoils. Their dark nature itself will make them convinced of everything. Every rich brat will get what he deserves and leave with an empty pocket. The momentous day has come when they will finally go to the bronze market. The whole team is assembled, a dream team. You can go with them to any corner of the world. They will never let you down.